have been coming here and celebrating games, our local game industry, which is thriving, by the way. And it's just really good to see that we are still going so strong in celebrating the industry here. So, how are we celebrating that here today? We are reminiscing with gaming industry specialists, and I would like to introduce them. They're going to come out now, and we're going to chat a little about what they do now and what they were doing back then. So, first up, we have Simon Alty, Vice President and Managing Director, Asia Pacific, Bethesda. We have Trent Kusters, Studio Director of League of Geeks. And can we get a bigger round of applause? It's his birthday today. We have Raelene Knowles, Chief Operating Officer of IGEA. And last but not least, we have Lewis Mitchell, the APAC Content Director of Twitch. I'm Steph, you might know me as Galaxy, but I'm here to host these lovely people here today to chat to you all about PAX 2013 and where we are today. Okay. Am I good? Can you hear us? You good? Yeah? Okay.
Thumbs up. Good? Hey!
Yay.
Hello.
Okay. First question. With people that might not be familiar with what your roles entail, can you maybe walk us through a day in the life of what you get up to today? What are your jobs? What do you do? What pays the bills?
Alright. Ladies first. Okay, alright. My name is Lewis Mitchell. I'm the APAC Content Director for Twitch. That is a very good question. What do I do? So I look after the partnerships and content teams for Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Australia, and New Zealand. So every day I'm meeting with our teams to kind of talk about what ideas they might have for emerging partners, what ideas we have new content that we would like to see build up on Twitch, and then look at talking about coming to things like this and making sure that there's a partner booth and community events at places like PAX.
Awesome.
So I work for IGEA, we're a trade association for video games, so we're essentially an advocacy organisation and we're here to promote the video games industry and those that play them. So part of that role is an education piece and explaining, who plays games in Australia, why they play games, all that sort of fun stuff. We represent industry to government and secure things like funding and that type of thing. So there's that element of our work, and we also run events ourselves. So we've just run the Game Developer Conference in Australia called GCAP and the Australian Game Developer Awards. So we've got multiple hats, but it's a joy to represent this industry.
So I'm the co-founder and studio director of League of Geeks. So my day-to-day is generally I'm heading up the publishing team. So we're a self-publishing called III studio, so like a premium indie studio. So we self-publish our own games and IP. So I look after a team of folks there that make trailers, make tweets, TikToks, all that sort of stuff. Steam pages, make sure the games come out and that people know about them because we've got to do all that internally as a self-publisher. And then I'm also running the studio as well. So we've got 70 staff, so I work with our operations team, head that up, and then all of our department directors sort of report into me and make sure that everything's running smoothly. And then the other function that I have is as like a, what we call editorial of League of Geeks. So I work with our game directors who are also on that editorial board to make sure that our games have a particular quality. What that looks like day to day is just a lot of Zoom and Slack, really. There'll be some emails and stuff like that, biz dev stuff, but yeah, a lot of Zoom and Slack.
Yeah, I'm Simon Alty. I'm the head of Bethesda in the Asia Pacific region. And if I could answer this, I'd be able to tell my mom what I do, because she's been asking me my whole life. But basically what we do is we represent in this part of the world all of the output from our studios around the world, primarily publishing, but what publishing is has changed so much in the 10 years that we've been going. My day also is mostly team meetings and chasing my tail. But we look after all, as well as Australia and New Zealand, we also look after all of Asia and the big growth markets in Southeast Asia as well, which keeps me busy. So, and I should say that Bethesda Australia also shares a birthday with PAX Australia. We're also 10 years old this month. So,
It's a birthday year! All birthdays all round.
yeah, I am not 10 years old.
You're like in a height, like the order when Bethesda was born.
Well, thank you for that. That was great. Now, we're going to take a little walk around memory lane. Do you remember what your job title was during PAX Aus 2013? What was your job title?
I had the most boring job title. I reckon, well, actually, I bet I had the most boring job title, which was ad product associate for 9MSN.
Yeah, you do.
So that I'm going to go with I had the most boring. Yeah, for not very much pay. So like the worst paid and longest job title at the time. That's what I was going for.
I was still with IGEA. I was probably the member services manager. There's only two of us. There's only us.
I was co-founder and director at Link. We didn't have 70 people. We had literally no one. We had no employees. We worked out about my bedroom, my front room, out of hours. Yeah, so same title, very different job.
No slack.
Yeah, no slack was in those days, that's for sure. Yeah.
Same, I was the day one as managing director of Bethesda in back then in Australia and New Zealand. So yeah.
Nice. I mean, we have some similar roles, slightly different office for Trent there, and IGEA as well. 10 years. Thank you. We love IGEA. So thank you. We appreciate that. The games industry appreciates that. Well, the 2013 show. You were all here? I assume you're all here. That's why we're here, right?
Yep.
I wasn't here. I've only been coming to PAX since 2019, so I'm a little bit of a poser sitting right here at the moment, but you guys are all here. What do you remember being absolutely wowed by at that first show?
The rain. Yeah.
Wet.
Yeah, the smell.
That's right, you said it was held at the Melbourne Showgrounds?
Melbourne Showgrounds, and torrential rain created a very interesting concoction. Yeah. Agriculture. Yeah.
Not games, no. I mean, maybe farming simulator. Quite literally.
Well, I think it's in a wow. It's kind of in the same vein as the rain. Just I know that Melbourne really didn't understand how many people would be coming to PAX.
Yeah.
So it was literally like just sardines packed on every tram, just trying to make sure that you got there, whilst it was torrentially raining. Still had the best time. It was awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Another thing I really remember was, so I've done a number of PAXs, like sort of traveling the world, showing off our indie games, like South, East, West, all that stuff. And I'd done the American PAXs before Australia, and the vibe was exactly the same. That was actually one of the most impressive things. It's like, it was literally the first year that anyone here had put on like a PAX, anyone from Australia, but obviously the crew from America were coming out and coaching, and there's a formula that, and all of you wonderful people and the enforcers and everything that contribute to this vibe. It was just, felt exactly like a PAX in Seattle or in Boston, and yeah, it was amazing just how much they understood the formula for a PAX and what makes PAX special, and they were able to just transport it to the other side of the world. And on day one, even if maybe some logistical things weren't right, like where to have it or how many people were coming, it was absolutely amazing that the vibe was the same.
So it was amazing that out of that chaos, everybody left with the same warm feeling.
Yeah.
Oh wow, we keep talking about community, because 10 years ago there wasn't this idea of communities as is firmly established now. You just saw it and felt it there. And, I just remember the queue wall, and we'd heard about these queue walls, and
And
Oh my
everybody
goodness.
throwing the big balls around.
Yeah,
and that type of
yeah,
thing.
it was astonishing.
Has everyone seen that really big, the really big panel out the front of the doors where it has PAX going back the 10 years and it's got pictures of all of the little tags that you could get, it's got photos from the event and everything. It's adorable, you should go look.
Yeah, it was really special. I think a lot of people really cared, and I remember actually even before Melbourne won the tender to have PAX come to Australia, because there were other cities in Australia in the running, talking to Repop, you know, the sort of organisers of the PAX, and even I think there were like places like Singapore or Malaysia in the mix, and they ended up going with Melbourne, and the excitement. I think everyone sort of understood the opportunity that we had. Like everyone in the industry knew what it would mean coming to Melbourne or coming to Australia, even the only PAX outside of America ever. And then to see, as you said, like when it then happened and everyone worked so hard to achieve, you know, what ultimately was a huge success. One of the reasons we're still here today was really phenomenal.
What did it, I always forget, what was it nearly called? Because I remember there's a story of it, like it wasn't going to be PAX Aus, it was going to be PAX, I think like there was
PAX
like
Dinkum or something.
PAX Dinkum.
But Yud managed to
Stop them from
doing it. So,
Classic young say.
No,
so,
yeah.
I have no idea.
I mean, can we bring back PAX Dinkum to like 2024? Just
It
one.
is in our hearts.
Yeah, what's in my heart now? Well, I mean, it's really good to, like, obviously there's a big want for PAX here. The community is here, and as you were saying, that it felt exactly the same as a PAX over in the US. And I think that it's absolutely fantastic that we're now celebrating 10 years, especially considering you said that there was a roof cave-in with all of the water, and it smelled kind of gross. That's the first one. So for us to make it to 10 years, I think that's a pretty great achievement. I'm looking forward to years to come as well. It's kind of almost the same question, but maybe not. Thinking again back to the very first one, what is your favourite memory? So slightly different from what you were absolutely wowed by. A favourite memory.
When I was asked about this panel, there's two things just immediately leapt to mind. There's the 2 R's, rain and Rooster Teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Because we'd all sort of, well, no, we all, some of us are old enough to remember it being blue.
Yeah.
And then we knew that these guys are coming, but that was when I discovered that these people with yellow t-shirts, and the tape just kept going and going and going as the queue formed around this tiny little booth for these Rooster Teeth guys. And I remember thinking, wow, there's something going on here as well. This is community at work. And so that was unexpected from our perspective. We were so used to polished, booth-driven events, and this was the antithesis of that.
Just a little bit chaotic.
Yeah,
It's
so
kind of strange,
chaos and
right?
community. And like, I remember there was a guy with a sign and he was offering 3 hugs, which of course became incredibly untrendy. He was literally just giving people hugs, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nice. That's happy. That's community.
I was going to say, I remember, I think Xbox One was about to
Yeah,
launch,
yes.
and there was one in the country. And in the end, there was people queued up to take photos of the Xbox behind a glass case that was handcuffed to security. Do you remember
It's like literally like a
Microsoft
royal...
PR team had to go by security.
That's crazy.
And there was no games on display. There was no product on display. It was literally
The boss.
It was
Yeah.
just a unit.
Yeah,
It's
just the unit.
It's very much like the crown jewels. It's like literally walking around and it's just like, are you going to go see the Xbox?
So in other words, we should call Microsoft and get a bejeweled Xbox, just for the memories, just to display it.
I think the memory for us was PAX 2013 was the first time that we demoed Armello publicly. So we had a hands-on, and at that point we were still making it for iPad. You know, we hadn't pivoted to like PC and console, and we just went ham on the booth, like for an indie team, right? And so we like made our own wooden plinths, and we got all the printouts of the animals and everything. And seeing people come through and play something, it never gets old. Watching people play something that you've made. I mean, especially the vibe at PAX. Like everyone's so wonderful. Gamescom's a different story, you know, you got to bolt your laptops to the table. But PAX is wonderful, and I mean, to the point where now I'm not even on our booth this year. We've got 2 booths here for Jump Light and Soul in Infernum, and I'm just letting the team like just roll through and taking it in shifts so they can experience what it means to have people interact with your game and, you know, see the sparkle or the twinkle in their eye when they get hands on. And so yeah, that was the first time we demoed Armello publicly ever.
I was the only one not in the industry at the time, so I came as a consumer. Funnily enough, I didn't even know this existed. I think that's kind of part of one of my favourite memories of this thing, is just finding out that these people exist in the world. Because I lived in the city, Sydney at the time. I was doing this was the weirdest medium to do game reviews on, radio game reviews. So yeah, visual entertainment industry. You know, a piece of art doing it on radio doesn't quite come across that well. But I didn't really know that many new gamers around. I ended up in the weirdest situation to find out about it. It's like I actually met Yug in a bar in Sydney that was, of course, and of course he did magic. But it was basically at some event that my housemate told me they're giving out free drinks. And it was strippers, and they basically invited people to come and trade games, and you could play with a stripper. It was the strangest experience I've ever had, but that then led to Yug doing magic and saying, "Are you coming to PAX?" And at the time, I didn't have a lot for us to play games, and I managed to coax my housemate to come down to Melbourne, because we just finished, I think, played either the first Red Dead or LA Noire. Really enjoyed it. And it's just kind of coming here, and I'd never seen a cosplayer before in person. I'd never seen all of the things that just feel so natural now. And it really, at the time, I was working in a very boring job of coding, and I say that in inverted commas, of copy-pasting code to put onto different pages. And I just realized, like, this is everything I want to be doing. And I ended up going back home, and then I didn't find Twitch because I kind of looked at it before, but I reinvested my time to Twitch and kind of ended up going, I want to work in this, and ended up here. So I think just from that, just finding out and just realizing that this exists, and that the whole welcome home that you see is just like, this did feel like home straight away. I loved everything about it.
Oh, awesome memories. They're all wholesome. I wasn't there for 2013. 2019 was my first PAX, but I mean, I still feel the same things that you guys have been saying, you know? Like, I didn't know that our indie industry was so big, and coming to the 2019 show, that's when I realized that, holy shit, we have a games industry here in Australia? Like, it was just mind-blowing. And you're right, the welcome home sign, every time I see it now, I'm like, yeah, I'm home.
21st, like you're saying, they managed to transport the same feeling from the States. They have welcome home on in the States.
I haven't noticed it, actually. No, they
That
might.
was an Australian
Yeah,
thing.
it might be an Australian thing. Yeah,
That's
seems like a Yogism. So for those who don't know, Yug, Guy Blomberg was the like global director.
What's his actual name?
Guy Blomberg. Yeah.
No, is it?
Well, you never know.
No, what was it? When he got interviewed, there was, what was it?
Does anyone know? 2013 as well, right? Was that during that
Was
show?
it 2013? Where it's like, there's an interview with him on a news show that then completely balls. Gabby Borland! Thank you!
Gabby Borland. So good. Yeah. How can he not be here and here?
Actually, yeah, why is he here?
Really great.
Okay, well, let's move to our next question. This one is probably a bit of a lengthy question, so feel free to take your time with it. Because obviously we're covering the span of not only 10 years, but we've also 2 years in there has been a lot of working from home and changes and things like that that have affected a lot of industries. But what are, in your opinion, some of the biggest changes or growth in the ANZ gaming industry since 2013, since that first PAX?
Definitely the PAX rising area. Yeah, so they used to be quite a small space, and if you walk through it today, it's huge. Maybe nearly a third of the no offense to Melbourne, there's games made in the Northern Territory on the floor today. There's games made in South Australia, a lot from Melbourne, Sydney. So to see that growth around the entire country is fantastic, and the polish on the games and the teams making them, it's quite different to what the team is.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. The indie showcase just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, I guess sort of what I do is pretty boring, but in terms of comparing, make games, we look after them. But I think the big shift for us as well, in part because distribution, how we sell games, has changed completely, and probably coming here is when you start to hear, about digital distribution for the first time. Because I remember the first one, we were pre-ordering the Elder Scrolls, the very first Elder Scrolls release. So that's how we've changed, how we've moved on now. But as part of that big shift is not only has Australia come together as an industry, it's now become the hub for almost all Western publishers, for sure, for the whole of Asia Pacific. So, my role's changed, everybody's role now, we're now embracing the region and representing the region, and I think it's in part because we figured out, and this lady and her colleagues, we figured out how to come together as an industry, both developer, publisher, all the different facets, and make it, all the different stakeholders, and it's now, it has a voice globally, which is incredible.
Our team has been, just today, we've toured a Chinese delegation, we've toured an Indonesian delegation, and we've just held a roundtable with the Assistant Foreign Minister with industry, talking about, the opportunities in Southeast Asia. So that wasn't a thing back in 2013, just a recognition of it. It is a commitment to science sport.
It's really, really developing into like a fully fledged industry, which is really, really good to see, especially
Even with some grown-ups in it now.
Yeah, I think I would share both of those sentiments, but particularly from a developer's perspective. I spent a lot of time in developing, assisting along with other folks like the local developer community and everything. And we were one of the first sort of commercial indie titles to really, not the first, obviously there's folks before us that we stood on the shoulders of. But we were one of the first, out there, and to now see just like how many there are, like you're saying, not just from Victoria or whatever, but all over the country here represented, and the caliber and the quality of the independent games that are coming out of the country is just absolutely stunning. And you see it on the show floor. Like, I mean, we were working with PAX and getting our booth space organised, and Johnny came back to me like 3 or 4 times being like, it's changed again, we're giving more space, we need more space for the indies, it's changed. And it just kept growing and growing and growing, and it's just absolutely phenomenal to see. Because I grew up as a kid, I just didn't even know, I had no idea that games are made here in Melbourne or in Australia at all. We have a long story of history, but more so recently, like in the last 10 years especially, like that the commercial indie viability is like huge.
I've even seen local games just on that point. It's been amazing seeing, coming from a Twitch point of view, during COVID, the amount of people playing Untitled Goose Game, and just like, I'm into this, I'm going to be honking all day. And then you got Cult of the Lamb as well. It's great to see that sort of stuff. And so I do wonder how much of that, sorry, I'm asking a question because I'm not on the publisher side, I'm the gaming side.
No, please do.
I do wonder how much of that has become because of crowdfunding rising over those 10 years as well.
I think crowdfunding was for us obviously it was huge. We had an Armello crowdfunding campaign, the Kickstarter came to Australia, we asked for 200k, we got 350 or something like that, and it built our studio. We were able to get a studio space, at the arcade, RIP, and spending some time in there with our crew, and that was a game changer for us. I think the bubbles burst a lot on crowdfunding, not for tabletop, it's now obviously the main primary form how tabletop games are platformed, and and the Armello board game, which is announced yesterday, is actually going to Kickstarter as well, so it's really important, but I think where crowdfunding did something a while ago internationally, I think we have a better option here in Australia, which is, again, largely thanks to Raelene and her team too, is the funding, locally and government. So all the states have their own funding and grants and things, and then federally there's now funding, which hasn't been the case for a number of years. Again, thank you, Raelene. It's solidify. What it does is it gives small to medium-sized businesses, especially like these indie studios, a chance to fail. You know, it gives them the building blocks that they need. It's sort of like little training wheels or a booster seat, you know. And I think it's helped a lot.
On this industry growth, sorry, this is not on my question list, so feel free to tell me I can't ask it. But on that industry growth, do you reckon that having something like PAX here in Australia, where people can go, young people can see that there are games being made here, that they are doing well, they are getting funded, they look, like you said, polished, they look fantastic. Do you reckon that has been an uptick? Like it's just boomed with something like this?
PAX has been a game changer.
Yeah.
For government relations even. So, you know, one of our jobs, we pump out research all the time that, you know, talks about who plays games, why they play games, size of the industry, which is great, but it's numbers on a page. But when we've got somewhere where we can bring government to see the audience and the scope of the industry, and IGEA isn't lying when they say the average age of a gamer is 35. You know, you walk around PAX and it's everybody. You could be walking around a shopping mall, it's the same sort of thing, you know what I mean? Everybody's represented. So for us, we think it's been a game changer to show not only the community, but now also the industry as well. We've done a lot of filming and stuff here over the years, and there's so many parents do come with their kids who want to be creators of some description, whether they're streamers or game developers. But yeah, I think these type of big community events have been crucial to the industry getting where it is now.
It's a very creative space. Like it's not even just like the video games, right? We still have like I met some board game developers this morning, like card game developers. You've got all the people that are making props for things like D&D and stuff like that. And I think it's really cool that you have like this outlet to showcase that people can make a job out of this, make a living out of this. I think it's fantastic.
I don't know if you can answer this legally, but how many children were indoctrinated into the Church of the Sweet Roll?
Well, I assume everyone's aware of the Church of the Holy Sweet Roll.
And if not, we're just going to leave it at that as well.
I only just this morning took off my beads, which are made of sweet rolls. I was gifted last night. The church is indeed here again. And that's a perfect, moving away from your question. Yeah, it's a perfect example of how different PAX is and what can happen. It goes back to the guy with his give me a hug sign. Another experience I had at that show was, I just come back from TGS, lucky on me. There's 240,000 people shuffling around trying to get hands-on games, completely different to this. And I remember trying to get past 6 friends who had sat down in a circle. They hadn't seen each other for a while, in the middle of PAX, having a chat. And it's like, that sums it up. And then,
That's awesome.
And then the church, the Holy Sweet Roll, was pulling out some boxes that were being thrown away.
Look, I do have a question about this, the Church of the Holy Sweet Rolls. You mentioned beads. Is it covered in cinnamon sugar icing?
No, but you know what they look like? They
That
look
would
like
be
those
sticky.
candy chains you used to have.
Yeah.
And so you literally want to... No, you'll see the church have brought them here. They're like everyone thought it was a Mardi Gras.
Awesome.
But yeah, there's a
So you
special
need to replace
organization.
them quite often, right? Snack.
Next PAX.
I was talking to Kelsey, our publishing producer, who's been on the booth at Solid and Fernham, and I think we've met people. So we met our associate producer who started. So basically, we did a PAX panel. I think it was like in 2015 or 14, I think. And after the panel, this young guy came up to us and was like, "Hey, awesome, blah blah blah. I'm Woody, yada yada yada." And he became one of our QA folk, and then he became our associate producer and shipped Armello with us, and then was like the EP on Armello for a number of years post-launch, and then went to Beethoven Dinosaur, and then shipped the Artful Escape with them, and is working on their new project as well. And it's like, we met him at PAX, like he came up, like one of you in the crowd came up and spoke to us afterwards. And today, Kelsey, I was getting onto our publishing producer, just told me she's been on the booth with Solly Fernham, and there was this 8-year-old girl sitting there playing Solly Fernham for 30 minutes, our political grand strategy game set in hell. And when she stood up and she got up the game, she was like, "The mechanics are really interesting." And Kelsey was like, almost cried. And so I think that visibility is really important. Like, I was a huge games enthusiast when I was a kid, but I never identified as a developer because I wasn't playing on PC, I was playing on console, so I didn't have access to the mod community or know that was even a thing. I didn't know a developer, I didn't understand what the skill set was or anything. I think if anyone asked me, they just came off like a magic conveyor belt, you know? And so to have that visibility, I think PAX really offers that, where some other shows don't, that direct interaction with the creators, for folks of all ages, you know, I think it's really important.
And game can also be quite solitary. I mean, by definition, most people are in their own homes playing games.
Yeah.
And it's only really been over, we're getting big red letters with people, please talk closer to mics.
Please talk closer.
So, I mean, and it's really, when I started at Twitch, it really was in its infancy. And like over the last 10 years, I realized where I'd made the mistake of not really understanding how much bigger it had got between two parties that we had. And one party, both of them allowed GA. At one party, it was about a 25-minute wait to get in as GA. And then the next one we had, which was 2 years later, I got told that the police might be coming because there's a lot of people spilling onto the streets. And that was kind of one of those moments I realized, like, okay, this is becoming a huge community, and PAX is the place where they're all going to be coming together and they want to meet each other. The other thing that I think throughout that time that really helped with the rise of streaming and influencers, and it's like when my first year here as a professional, I really like a lot of press walking around for most of the time. A lot of that has shifted to kind of the world of the content creator, the influencer. I think part of that as well is the fact we actually have access to decent internet now, because when we first started and when PAX first started, you were talking about the upload speed of 0.024 and people trying to do the most bare minimum things possible. And I know there were people that would literally hire an office, like a room in an office, so that they could go and use decent internet to try and stream. And would sleep there and then wake up the next day and there'd be office workers around going, hey, it's like, hi, how you going? And that was the life of a streamer back then. But there were so few, and it's just been such a boom since then. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen, has been such a major difference.
On that, do you think that with like a whole bunch of people streaming, and then like you said during lockdown and stuff, there was a whole bunch of people streaming on kind of have a Goose Game, and then we had obviously local gem Cult of the Lamb. Do you think that's also helped the indie game industry? Not just in terms of like, I guess, obviously because people are buying the games and they're playing the games and they're advertising the games, but do you think that's also helped maybe people realize that they can also make games too? And they want to talk to the devs when they come to something like this?
Yeah, I think to Trent's point before, it's the visibility.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're visible, and it's studios like League of Geeks that help the next generation coming through. So because the industry is young, it's actually quite mature here as well. So there's a lot of you on your 10-year anniversaries and more. So to be able to showcase that to the public is pretty exciting. And it was different to your supernova type events that were kind of big before PAX.
Yeah.
So
I think a big significant thing is, one of the things they do with me now is, because my first game I published in 1990. So I was only 8. But they regularly wheel me out now at universities not to inspire the young people of the minds of the future, but to reassure the parents that there is a career to be had in the video games industry, and I'm living proof. But it's now super okay for someone to sit at the dinner table at home and say, I want to make video games. Whereas if you said it when I was a kid, it was like, no, you need to get a proper job. Yeah. And that still persists to a certain extent, but now, because people can physically see it, it's amazing when you walk in this huge event, the first things you encounter are the indie games. It's like, so it just all reinforces that thought process is, yes, I can. And now there's an understanding through all of the systems and education that are getting better and better. There's an understanding that I don't. Because it's like, I want to make games, or what does that really mean? Because actually what you really mean is I want to play games professionally all day long. Yeah. And then you understand that, no, I can draw, I'm interested in coding, I can write, you know, all of these different pathways are available to me now. So it's amazing to see young people coming through, having a clear understanding of which discipline they want to follow.
Yeah.
So that's changed quickly over the last few years.
That's good to see. I like, you know, just like you said, like, oh, I want to make games. But like you said, like, there's a whole bunch of like transferable skills that people are able to see that they can do, like art, they can do the writing, they can do the coding, and maybe they didn't think that they wanted to make games, but they can be a part of it as well. And I think that's what the indie showcase, the PAX Rising section that we have really helps, I think, because you can speak to the devs. I think that is real key. I don't know how much longer we have because we're still being told to talk closer to the mics. All right, I guess we'll come back to this year. So, PAX Australia 2023, what is your favourite area at the moment? Like, what about this year's show, what is your favourite area, and what do you think you'd be checking out post-panel?
I can answer that, I'll jump in, because I haven't actually walked around, I just grabbed my badge, came straight here. And so after this, I'm going to go make sure that my crew are alive on the move, that they're doing okay. They are good, all right, great. So I'm going to go by, swing past and see our games. Also, as I mentioned, the Island board game is happening in the tabletop area, so I'll go and see King of the Castle Games, who's producing that, and check that out. But I actually just love the mosey walk around, the show floor, and just seeing what's about. I can't play games in these events. It's just a thing of mine. And I always feel bad because do you want to play? I'm like, no, it's not you, it's me. I just can't play games at these events. But I just love going and watching and being a bit of a voyeur, seeing getting that sort of bird's eye view of sort of what's coming up, what's happening, what are the standouts. I think you can tell a lot from a team. You know, I'm talking about the indie area. In regards to just their booth and their presentation of their booth and how they're presenting themselves and everything. And then of course finding the gems where, you know, where you may not look or need to take a second peek. That's really exciting to me. And I'm an old pen and paper role-playing fan, so I always sort of geek out seeing if there's anything new there. But I don't do much of the theatres or the other areas. I love seeing obviously all the crew rolling around, hanging out with their mates or, you know, cosplaying. But I think it's going to be the show, just wandering the show floor.
For me, it's not a place, it's just wandering around the connections that you make. I mean, I'll meet people here that I met, walking up to them and saying, I'm really sorry, we don't know each other, but I work for Bethesda and you're amazing. Because they accurately recreate and it's such an honour, you know, and then you see them year on year, and so that's what happens here. You know, you just literally wander out that door and the next thing you know, you're just meeting someone, and that's what has happened time and time again. That's how you end up with a church.
A delicious church.
You know, and you end up with true. We use community in all kinds of ways now, but that is true community.
It's very affirming, isn't it, for the work that we do, because we are removed from the community.
Yeah.
They're just numbers, or you know, that might not sound particularly nice, but that's reality. So to come and immerse yourself in it and see how they're playing and what they're playing and who they're dressed as is fantastic.
By the way, sorry, we are painting a very pretty picture here. They have a lot to tell me. And so you get that direct feedback.
Yeah. It's always funny as well, when you're interacting with people in your community, like you say, they also use their gamer tags a lot, so someone will come up and be like, hi Trent, and you're like, hi. And they're like, oh, I'm Darkscorn 69. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And there'll be a community name for 10 years or something. Yeah, exactly. It's all right, cool, yeah. It's always a lot of fun to meet folks who are playing your games, part of your community.
I think I love seeing how people are progressing. It's one of those things that you see the same faces each time. Obviously, there's a bit of a gap, but shall not be named. But like every year you kind of come to see people, it's like you see the faces and you're like, oh, you're there now. Oh, that's cool. Like, what are you up to? Like, how have you ended up there? What's the progression? And just say it, like, especially, obviously from the talking to partner side of things, Twitch partners. There's been partners where it's like, hey, I want to get into the industry side of things. I don't know how to do it. I'm not sure. It's like, I don't know how to talk to people. And then the next year you see them on a booth, like at Logitech or Bethesda or something. It's like, that's great, man. Like, you made it. That's awesome. So I just love seeing how people are progressing year on year. The other thing that I've been really interested in is like noticing that there's more and more just non-gaming brands coming out here. It's like you got music setups now, Yamaha, it's like, which is really cool. So, hey, actually, no, this makes perfect sense. Like people that play games also like tech and other things as well. And Audio Technica, which is this old Japanese, basically turntable company, turning into we're making gaming headsets now, and just making that transition and realizing that this is a really worthwhile investment as well. I love seeing kind of what products they're coming up with as well.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, even just from last year's PAX, like this year feels twice the size. And it's good to see everyone obviously coming back after a couple of years off, unfortunately. But it's so good to see everyone coming back. And it's not even just, hey, we're in Melbourne, so if you're in Melbourne, come to PAX. It's, I don't live here, I'm going to come to PAX. Everyone around Australia are coming to PAX. And we have international visitors and things like that. And I think that's really cool, just everyone coming together and celebrating what the gaming industry can do as a whole, but also the gaming industry in Australia. I think is really, really cool. And on that note of everybody introducing themselves with their gamer tags, it's like, I have to ask for that. Yeah. They're like, oh, it's Galaxy. No, I'm like,
actually, who are you? Yeah.
But who? So it's quite cute, actually. But we still have like 15 minutes left. I'm out of questions. I even added 3 extra. So, I mean, you're good at questions.
I've asked one question.
Okay, well, that was a good one.
Oh, thank you. That's
You're
what
welcome.
I say. I mean, do any audience members have questions? Does anyone have anything they want to ask us?
Does anyone have any memories from 2013 that you guys would like to share with us?
Oh, while people are thinking of questions,
we have a hand up over there. I don't know if I can pass the mic. Over. Yeah, come to the front. Come with the mic.
Oh, you got one. You're the roaming mic, right?
Turn this mic on.
The AV crew, apparently, like, no, what are they doing? They're going off screen.
Very freestyle right now. This is,
Send us messages here, we'll message you.
Sorry about my English. This is a quick question because I wasn't here. Price-wise, what was the difference between 10 years ago and now in terms of price of products if you want to buy a ship, let's say?
Yeah, okay. I'm indie, and so I can say this shit without getting in trouble. Games are way too cheap, and they've stayed the same price for 40 fucking years. And so as a game developer, who's like, our last game cost $1.5 million to make, and the new ones are costing like 12, but I can still only charge like, 50% more or something like that. It makes doing business really, really hard. So that's an interesting thing as an indie, like that we've definitely noticed over the years is like, we'll play games. We make games that people can play for, I don't think you should, but you can play our games for like 1,000 hours if you really wanted to, and people do. So that's an interesting thing, I think, is not so much how much prices have changed, and they have pushed around a bit, especially as the indie scene has like gone up, in quality and in the caliber of the games and the scale of experience as tools and talent gets better in the indie scene. It's actually really interesting to see the price lifting a bit. It used to be $10 or $20 for an indie game, but now you're seeing great, we just released Jump Light Odyssey at $30, no one batted an eyelid. That's great, that's what I want to see, is someone running a studio of 70 people that I care for, that put their heart and soul into games. Like I said, over $10 million to make this game. If we want to keep doing that and we want to keep making great experiences for all of you, then we need to be able to, charge a price that's commensurate with that success. So that's one interesting thing, I think. The other thing that I'll note is like subscription too. So some games are actually just free now as well, which is cool. Like that's actually a different mode of business and not like sliding that at all. But that's just an interesting change that's happened in the last 10 years that didn't exist at all.
Also, like I would say, like now there's a lot of free games. I would say there's a lot of free games, like you said, but there's a lot of micropayments also.
Sorry, you might need to repeat that.
Yeah, like you were saying, I agree that there's a lot of new free games.
Yeah.
Than 10 years ago. But I would say also there is a lot of these free games that have micropayments inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you mean.
So, I don't know, at the end of the day, they are not 100% free. So, I don't know, it's just curious how they changed price-wise and money-wise 10 years ago. And I was just curious how it was in Australia, and specifically in PAX. I just was asking that. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or memories?
There we go.
Oh, we have a line. I'm blind, apparently. What's your name?
My gamer tag is Harlan. I wondered what you thought in 10 years' time. Where will we be?
Oh, you should have guessed this question.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I don't think I'll be on this panel.
I bet you will.
we can roll you out on a holy sweet roll wheelchair, if you like.
Made his first game in 1990.
Everything will be AI. We'll be in pods all the time, and AI have taken over the world. So I'm going the full Elon Musk. Is it Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg that doesn't want to go the AI? It is Elon. Okay, yeah. No. But I actually, like, from an AI perspective, I can imagine a lot more games and a lot more assets will be coming from an AI side of things, and whether that makes them cheaper or whether there's going to be discussions that need to be had about, like, should this be okay? I think that'll be an interesting place in 10 years' time.
And look, the games community still needs an opportunity to come together in person.
Yeah.
So, you know, my hope would be that it would be bigger again.
Yep.
So it's a couple of floors here at the convention centre. You know, we know everyone plays. So it'll be great to see more players, I think, and we will.
I think as well there'll be a much greater blurring of the line between developer and player. We've already seen that in the last 10 years. Like, I mean, if you're a 10-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid, you're making games in Roblox already. You know, like whilst Zuck is trying to build it, every 12-year-old is in the metaverse, and it's called Roblox. You know, and so it is, and this is actually the confluence of AI and these sort of communities and tools and stuff. And we're seeing an Epic's done it with their Unreal Kit and everything. So it's just gonna, we always joke in games when, games is fucking hard to make. They're really incredibly hard. So there's a classic game dev joke of the elusive make game button. Like, just like, hit the make game button, like, let this be over with and just, it's done. I think we're getting very close to that button existing. You know, the fact that you can just create a 3D environment now, like SpeedTree was a big thing 15 years ago or something, and now it's like you can make all these worlds. I think it's just going to get so much easier, especially with the help of AI, for folks like yourselves who have almost no experience. I've seen the tools at DICE, like when I was there in February. You know how in Midjourney you type something? There are tools that exist for that, for full 3D environments, where you just type something and it creates a 3D environment with all the assets packaged up and everything like that, correct file name conversions. It's already out there, people are talking about it in the background. So when you think in 10 years' time where we'll be as consumers and what we'll have the power to do. So yeah, from our pods, we will be creating games. And we will come here physically to talk.
And yet, still, there will be a news outlet that blames games for that. Still, even in our pods. Yeah.
We have one more question. Hi, my name is Stephanie Chin. I'm from Lithia Reviews. I have been at PAX for every year that it's been in Australia. Woo! And I first attended as just a normal attendee. I actually entered a Nintendo competition to compete in the Pokemon tournament because it was sold out, and I thought I need to get a PAX ticket. So I entered and I got the ticket and I never competed. I just came to hang out. I actually had a question for the audience. Can you put your hand up if you've been here since 2013?
Oh, wow. Love it.
So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been coming for the past so-and-so years. I felt very alone, and then with PAX, I feel like I'm part of something special. My 2013 memory, besides hijacking Nintendo's competition and never competing. I love Pokemon, I'm just crap at being competitive. Is mostly the giant Jenga that
was sitting in the middle of the floor, and I was far too short to play and keep going. But everything has been amazing. Every year that I have attended has been a different experience, and I really appreciate it. I even remember the sweet roll thing. People ate the roll and threw away the box and forgot there was a CD inside, right? Yeah, so I just want to share that this has been a wonderful community, and I hope we are here for 10 years more. Thanks for having me.
How long have we got left on the clock?
You got 8 minutes 25.
Do you reckon we got time for one more?
Oh, yeah.
I think we have one more. Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
One more.
That's not really a question, so it should be fairly quick. More just like sharing some memories and seeing what other people think. Well, first I'll start off with, it was briefly mentioned, the welcome home sign. Did anyone else come in? I remember myself coming in on the Friday, seeing the welcome home sign as getting off the train, going, oh, that's interesting, and then at the end of PAX on the Sunday, walking out for the last time, getting on the train and going, realising, oh, when I clicked, it was like that contrast from walking in on the first day and going, oh, it's an interesting sign, not really understanding it, and then like clicking on the Sunday, walking out for the last time, it was like, oh, okay, it makes a lot of understanding what that sign represents, because it, like, it's when you first see it, it's like, oh, okay, but like it's like the Sunday walking out, it like clicks after your first PAX what that sign is. And the other thing about 2013, does anyone else remember how crazy the lines were and how small the theatres were?
Yeah.
It's like, I was an enforcer the first year in Wombat, helping run Wombat Theatre. Like, we could only hold a couple of hundred people, and I don't know if people remember how crazy the lines were, and with the rain and everything, people were lining up for panels, because people were realising there was hardly any space and everything was reaching capacity. So people were lining up for panels before, before the one, they got in the line for the one before they wanted, and would let people in, and half the people would say in the line, like, no, I'm waiting for the next one, I'm getting in ahead, I don't want to miss it. And yeah, and when people would come out of main theatre, because of the rain, we were having to line people up down in those, down the walkways with the tents set up over the walkways. And whenever people would get let out of main theatre and they'd head over to the free play areas, you're just going to have a flood of people walking through, and you just lost track of the line. There'd no longer be a line, it was just a sea of people. And then we'd try and get a count of line again, and it had been at capacity for over an hour. We were turning people away, and we'd do a count again, it was like, oh wait, a bunch of people slipped in. It was just crazy. It just makes you appreciate like all this wonderful we have in all this space we have. That allows us to organise it so much simpler. It was the hectic 2013 of managing queues at the showgrounds makes you appreciate
And
the
I think,
Melbourne Convention Exhibition
and what was
Centre.
interesting too was how well the community handled it.
Yeah.
Like at the time, we were touring the classification people and the classification board, and for those, we'd only gotten an R18, I think, in January.
Yeah, it happened
and
that
the
year.
PAX was on in July. And to be fair, they were a great bunch, and they were working with industry really well. But so we were touring them, and they're walking around going, gee, gamers are nice. It's not the perception. I said, no one's shooting each other, no one's punching on. We're not the AFL or NRL, and everyone's, the community handled it beautifully.
So what I'm hearing is we're really grateful that we have this wonderful space to celebrate PAX in. I'm looking forward to seeing how it grows from here, because honestly, how much bigger can we get? But that's all we have time for today. But someone's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Trent and PAX.
Honestly, it's an honour to be here with you today. It's very special, PAX. I think I've been to 20 PAXs or something. So thank you so much for sharing my birthday.
And I'm going to share, Trent won a massive industry award on Wednesday night
did.
as well for his contribution to the community. So.
have to break every OH&S rule that MCC has.
I was just going to say they couldn't light the candle, but they used to let us set fire to the cue hall.
That's why they can't light it now, yes.
Thank you, everyone.